Until 3 p.m. Yeah, well, you would have clearance to be there that day. It's gonna be after operating hours anyway. It's gonna be, we'll get there a bit early. But yeah, it'd be cool if you want to do anything, and like I said, I can get you, like our flyers, the vendor list, stuff like that, just and if you want any points of contact, I'm not being coordinated at all, so.
Hello, can we get one, please? It's now 6:30 on the 14th of August, and I do have this little gavel here, but I'm not really into banging it. So if I have to, for whatever reason, I'm sorry for everybody to hear it, but I hope I don't have to use it. Let's see here, Deputy Clerk Weiss, can we get the roll call, please?
Ellis. Here. Gagan.
Here.
Hodgkin.
Here.
Lawrence.
Here.
Mackey.
Here.
Morrison. Here. Bertini. Here. Fredos.
Here.
Cedar.
Here.
Ward. Here. Taylor.
Here.
Or.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we stand for the pledge of allegiance if you can?
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council President's work and get the approval of the agenda.
And those that we approve today's agenda. Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now we're going to do public comment. So just as usual, please limit it to 3 minutes. Please be respectful and keep it to 3 minutes. Please start with your name and your ward if you can spell out your address.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, I'm asking is a question, and I don't know who else to ask. Maybe you can let me know. We got another notice today about our water being turned off on the 21st. And this is like the 6th notice in a row. And I was told after so many that the not PUD, but the water company would not be very happy. So I'm not sure how many, I mean, if he doesn't pay the water, do we have any rights?
We can talk about it after the meeting. If I can.
Okay, because I need to know, because this is like the 6th time every month. Oh, and it's Lynette Taylor, and I think I'm in Ward 2. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
Hello, my name is Victoria Rivera. I am the library manager for the Aberdeen Library. I think I'm in Ward 4. So tonight I just wanted to mention that next year is the end of the strategic direction that we are currently on. And so right now we are working on planning for our next 5-year plan, and we want community feedback. So I have some of these flyers that I can leave on the table back there, but you can also go to our website, and it's at the very front top part of our website. We are seeking input from the community members like you to better understand your needs, preferences, and experiences with the library system. Your valuable feedback will help guide our priorities and shape the future of the library services for our region. This survey will take about 5 minutes. It is anonymous, And we have it in various languages. So if English is not your native language, we have other options as well. And also quickly just want to mention that we're very excited for Summerfest this Saturday. And the library will be tabling with the Friends of the Library. And it's going to be a really great family-oriented event. The Friends of the Library will be giving away free books for ages, I would say 0 to 18, pretty much. We've got board books, we've got teen books, we've got middle school books. There are going to be some DVDs that we'll also offer. I believe the Friends of the Library is going to be doing some kind of raffle to give away 3 children's Kindles. And then we'll have some STEM games, we'll have some crafts. It's going to be great. Looking forward to seeing you all. Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay. Let's move on, let's see, with the consent agenda from Council President Warren.
I move that we approve tonight's consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the July 31st meeting, accounts payable, payroll, and the homeless report. Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You vote? Right. Passes.
There were some corrections that were needed to the minutes. Did those get taken care of? The final, thank you.
Okay. Now we have a presentation from the Coastal Interpretive Center, Jacob Baker. How you doing?
Doing fine. Good evening, everyone.
If you point that microphone up towards yourself.
Sure, can you hear me better now? Yeah,
Sorry.
so I've got a few slides here that Becca is pulling up. Wonderful. So, as was mentioned, my name is Jacob Baker. I'm the new executive director over at the Coastal Interpretive Center located in Ocean Shores. I've been in the job about 4 months and also in Washington State about 4 months. So I'm very much learning as I go, and also want to share with you what it is that I've been learning in the time that I've been on the job. So in the next 7 minutes, my hope is to talk a little bit about what the Coastal Interpretive Center is right now. It's existed since 1977. The people that know about us and like us, but there's certainly a lot of people that don't know about us. So I'll fill you in on where it is we've been, but also describe where it is that we're going in broad strokes, and then talk about some potential opportunities for how we might better engage the city of Aberdeen and residents of Aberdeen and other businesses and nonprofits in the Aberdeen area. So if you look at the screen right there, you'll see our museum. We are a cultural and natural history organization. So in brief, that means biology, geology, ecology, anthropology. And we've got about 2,000 objects in our collections. During the summertime, we're open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we've got displays for children and details for adults. It's really wonderful to see all the people that come in and really take something away. But in addition to our museum, we also have educational programs. Our service area really is the entirety of Grays Harbor County. And so while we do work with schools on a limited basis in the city of Aberdeen, we really like to do a lot more. What I would say is, with all the land that we have that surrounds us, the forests, and all of the water, whether it's fresh or salt water, there's a lot of opportunities to reconnect people to their natural resources locally. And we'd really love to be able to provide that in this form of in-school education, on-the-ground restoration opportunities, and on-the-ground community science opportunities for students and adults. And we're working closely with all of our government partners to be able to make that happen. If you want to go to the next slide. And so in broad strokes, how would I define the Coastal Interpretive Center? I would say that we're using that cultural and natural history that I talked about to inspire creative engagement with a changing world. And what I would say is changing, particularly for students, is understanding that it's not just the past that might have been vibrant, but it's also the present and the future that can continue to be vibrant. And it's their active engagement, their participation in stewardship, caring for the people and places that they care about, that really helps make them proud to grow up here, so they'll be proud to give back as adults. And that's why we're working so hard to expand our programming out into the community. I think we've long thought of ourselves as a museum, a place where people come to visit us, but we really want to meet people where they are. Meet them where they are, not just physically across Grays Harbor and Aberdeen, but also meet them where they are socially, culturally, and economically. If you want to go to the next slide, please. And so the formula that we're roughly working under is pretty simple. If you combine community education and community stewardship, then hopefully you produce a greater sense of community belonging. That real pride of place that we would really love for every student and adult that engages with us, whether it's in our natural resources or cultural resources programming, to really take away. You want to go to the next slide? And so there's a lot of text on this slide. I'm certainly not expecting to quiz you at the end. But these are examples of some of the programming that we're working to develop in these three different categories. And when I described part of our organization as a museum, what I really want to hammer home is that if we want to produce a greater sense of community belonging, then we need to have a living museum, a museum that the community actively participates in, and a museum that, again, embraces all of Grays Harbor. And so we want to be able to take exhibitions that we create with community partners and bring them out into the community, including Aberdeen. So it's not just that people need to come to visit our museum over in Ocean Shores, but that we can create, say, rotating exhibitions that travel throughout the county, or that the students that participate in our projects or programs also help co-create the same exhibitions. It's all an effort to create a greater sense of pride of place, like I mentioned. Do you want to go to the next slide? And so how it is that we're thinking from now through 2025 is a 5-step educational model that we're building towards. This is ideal. We won't be able to get there in every case, but working with other nonprofit organizations locally, federal partners that are natural resource organizations, state partners that are natural resource organizations, and also county partners like the Grays Harbor Conservation District. We will start in school with students. That leads to on-the-ground student opportunities. And then hopefully we can engage the community, whether it's their parents or others in the projects that they start, all dovetailing with that community exhibition program that I mentioned. You want to go to the next slide? And so while we have been Ocean Shores centric for most of our history, in the past 4 months that I've been on board, I've been going out and meeting folks all across Grays Harbor. And I really want to hammer home the point that we are seeking not to create transactional relationships. We're seeking to create collaborative partnerships. And the best way we do that is through a sense of dialogue. That's why I'm here tonight, because I'd really like to start that dialogue with each and every person here. And I'd really like to continue that into the future as we work more closely with Aberdeen schools, other Aberdeen nonprofits, and other local government agencies. If you want to do the next slide. And so again, here I've just listed those potential opportunities for collaboration. It's a lot of text, not expecting for you to read it all, but just hopefully to get the wheels turning in your mind. If you want to do the next slide. And so if you would like to come out and visit the Interpretive Center, please, through Labor Day, we're open 7 days a week. But additionally, if you're looking for something maybe a little bit more educational or a little bit more hands-on, we also offer guided tours throughout the summertime that you're more than welcome to join us on. And if you'd like, my email is up there on the slide. You can certainly reach out and contact me if you'd like to meet one-on-one. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions or comments or curiosities anyone might have. Please.
The lecture series that I mentioned, are there any of those currently happening now, or that's something?
Yeah, so we traditionally had a lecture series, I would say in the rainy months, so October to March. And we're reassessing the best forms of community engagement that we can offer during that time period. We are thinking about how we can bring more people into the fold. And create the sorts of events that all community members really want to attend. I think the lecture series has been a really great opportunity to share knowledge, say from scientists to specific members of the public. But we've noticed that participation has been declining year on year. And so we're trying to figure out how do you balance, the education with still meeting large amount of people. Thank you. Please.
Do you collaborate with the tribes at all? And, there's a large cultural influence here from the tribes.
Yeah, definitely. So of the 3 tribes in Grays Harbor County, I would say our strongest relationship is with the Quinault Indian Nation. And we are we're always looking to work with them, I should say, in a few different levels. So one is with their Cultural Resources Department, their museum. The second is with their school district. And then third is with their natural resource agencies. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity to enable the tribe as they would like to share more with the broader Grays Harbor community, but also vice versa to bring folks from Grays Harbor that may or may not understand all the things that the tribe is doing to bring them into contact as well. Yeah, so thank you. It's a good question.
Thank you.
Please.
You have, lectures or learning opportunities that are available via like Zoom or online?
Yeah, I think we have historically, and I appreciate the ability of virtual engagement to, it's more accessible. We can bring more people in that way, particularly if you would otherwise have to travel long distances in the rain. Again, we're still planning out our outreach calendar for that October to March or April period. And so we haven't settled on anything yet, but lecture series are one of the opportunities that we could so easily offer virtually. Thank you. Wonderful. Well, thank you again, and please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you. Thank you, Jacob. Now for the mayor's report. I just don't have much, but I did this weekend have 4 visitors from Germany come in, and they were here actually to see the Cobain experience, and they were closed because they were working on some. So they came over and asked what else is there to do. There really isn't a lot. I mean, we have trails, we have all kinds of we could do kayaking, Nirvana, experience grunts. There's lots of things people can do. According to, I don't know exactly who, somebody in our downtown, they said, in order for Aberdeen to ever be considered a tourist destination, we need to have 4 hours worth of activities for a tourist to come here and participate in. Yeah, it will. Thank you. And so we have a couple hours right now with, once our museum gets open, once the Nirvana experience is open, we're getting closer to that 4 hours. So I see tourist destination written in our future. Okay, so now let's go on to council reports. All right, go ahead, Councilperson Pearson.
Okay. So from the homeless committee, the homeless camps were removed from downtown last week. And we're aware that there are things to work out. And the police, the community development and public works departments are all working together to stay vigilant and consistent with those few homeless people that are left in the community. There are some, spread out in different areas and they're looking all over to make sure and offering them shelter at the Union Gospel Mission and the Women's Shelter. The city administrator checks in weekly with the Union Gospel Mission. And after the cleanup, there were no increases in the number of people requesting to stay at the mission or at the Friendship House. This week, it was reported that there were a few women who have requested to use the Friendship services, but not to stay there. We're currently discussing the need for the city to be involved in the creation of a village or a shelter. The committee's monitoring the effectiveness of the enforcement right now, so we're just going to kind of watch and see where we need to go from here. We're also determining how to move forward with the RVs and the other vehicles. We are meeting with the City of Lacey's manager, Rick Bach, and he's invited Mayor Orr and Council Member Hodgkin, the city administrator, and myself to their city. We're going to take a tour of the safe parking location that they have. And we hope to bring back ideas to share with our own city council and hopefully come up with some solutions there for us. And we're pleased to announce that at our next meeting, we will be joined by Senator Jeff Wilson and Representative Jim Walsh. We will give them updates on what's been done so far to address homelessness and where we could use some help from the state. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Councilperson Steele.
Since the last council meeting, had a couple of meetings, got together with a group of citizens and Councilmember Lawrence and the city administrator Clemens for a rail zone, quiet zone meeting to try to look at options of what we could do to make things a little quieter especially in the evening hours for residents from a lot of loud train whistles going on long and prolonged. There's going to be another meeting, coming up for September. I apologize. I think it's September 5th. I have to double check that. You think that's right? Yeah. It's the 5th at the library, and I think it's gonna start at 5:30 this time. We started the last one around 6, and this one we're gonna be a little earlier. So library, because it's more accessible, and we can't do it at City Hall, and this isn't available here at the college, so library seemed to be the best option because it was also no elevators or stairs to climb. And then I also attended a pre-audit meeting with a representative from the state auditor's office. And on the call were Cindy Mahama, our accounting rep, and Mayor Orr and City Administrator Clemens. And the state is in process of beginning their audit and looking at our financials from the past year. And it was very intuitive and informative. It was good. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilperson Kagan?
I met this week with the CEO for CAP, Greg Lunko, and you walked me through their operations and gave me a tour of the improvements they're making to the building. The scope they are involved in with their programs was way broader than I expected to be learning about. And I would say that many of you have had the opportunity to go there and have not took up their questions or push it. So I would say I would highly recommend doing it. I got way more out of it next, but it took about an hour. And remind everybody to take that tour. Yeah,
It's pretty amazing what they're doing.
it was just neat to have a lot of questions answered, but things I really wanted to actually did. It was a lot broader than I had anticipated.
Okay. Thank you. Any other council people with reports? Councilperson Morrison.
Don't have a report, but on behalf of a very grateful community, I'd like to thank the Parks Department for the wonderful job that they did of its doing.
Yay. I'm cut the old growth trees. All right. Any other reports? Okay. Oh, hold on. Yeah, councilperson's support, or council president's support.
The only two things I had on my council report were also from the Parks Board to say that the Stewart Trail is now open. And we've also been awarded a grant to replace the swing set at St. Ben Park.
Right. Okay, no more, then we'll go on to staff reports, and Administrator Clemens isn't here, so we'll go to director report.
She's online.
Oh, no, she online? Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I am in Wenatchee this week at a Washington City Managers Conference. There are over 170 city managers and director level city employees in attendance. And we are attending different sessions to learn how to improve our cities, to exchange ideas, and to kind of understand what the latest trends are that are coming to not only our cities, but to the state. Today, our guest speaker was Lieutenant Governor Denny Heck. And tomorrow we will be focused on community leadership and learning about the impacts of AI to our local governments. So those are just a couple of the topics that we'll be discussing. As you heard from Councilmember Pericini, overall, the camp removal went as smoothly as things like that could go. We had no incidences, no accidents, no arrests. So right now we're just working out the kinks of the, those that working out like the sit-lie laws and seeing it. We're reevaluating those things and seeing how we can better improve our ordinances at this point. So those are still up for discussion, and those are things that the directors and I are working through, as well as with the HRC. Last week, we initiated a conversation with the city of Cosmopolis to discuss the renewal of the sewer contract. So I will have more information as that unfolds. On Monday, I met with the residences of Leisure Manor Park to discuss the issue that they brought to all of you at the past meeting regarding the on-site AEDs. So I think I was able to give them a good path forward. I will definitely update you if there are any other issues that come about with that. As Councilmember Sedor also stated, we met with the Railroad Noise Reduction Work Group. They seem to be very organized, which is a very positive thing. That was something, and I'd like to thank the council for recommending that we work with this group of community members to build, to see what the work could look like working together instead of like tasking city staff. This really alleviated a lot of work and time from city staff. So again, they already have created a charter, and they've been given some homework to learn about the federal level Department of Transportation, and what their definition of quiet zones are and what cities can do to bring those to their communities. Also, we did have our pre-audit meeting, as Councilmember Sedor also stated. I will keep you updated. We will have an entrance meeting, and once I get official word when that will be, I will extend an invitation to all of you to see who would like to attend. They'll go over the audit and what it'll all entail, and then Accountant 3, Cindy Mahama, will be the city's liaison during the audit. I wanted to also apologize for the cancellation of last week's budget workshop. I fell ill and was unable to attend. So on the agenda tonight is a request to reschedule that meeting. So again, it's just a discussion piece, and I would just love some direction as to like when all of you would like to reschedule that. And that's my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any councilors or any directors?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I do have a report.
Yeah, Chief.
You ready, Becca? Good. So I have a brief presentation, the Washington State Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, of which I'm a member of. Puts out an annual report every year. It's called the Crime in Washington Report. Most of you that were here last year probably recognize a lot of the things that I'll talk about, kind of give a summary of what's going on in the state of Washington. So what I've done is I take our year report, I kind of combine it with the state, so you kind of get an idea of what's going on in Aberdeen. Is that mic cutting in and out, or is it just me?
Just you.
Okay. Turn down my speaker. So it's a 500-page report that the state puts out. So if anybody's interested in it, you can go to the WASPIC website and you can download it. It's a PDF, but it's a pretty mammoth report. And what they do is they're collecting data that agencies turn in for the federal uniform crime report. So that includes all of our criminal offenses, arrests, law enforcement officers, assaults and killed, and the number of full-time employees. This is data that they track every single year. So this kind of gives us a way to accurately look at what we're doing. One thing you need to keep in mind is kind of disclaimers that every agency is a little different on how they oftentimes will report something, or they're not required to report it. So there's over 200 law enforcement agencies in the state of Washington. The vast majority do report their data, but there are some that do not. So if you look at the actual crime in Washington report, you kind of get an idea what agencies are reporting and those that are. We pull data all the time. Anytime I do a radio show or somebody asks, I'm always pulling data. So if anybody ever has any questions or concerns about what's going on, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I can get you that information. So statewide crime information, crime data by agencies, staffing levels, and it really kind of gives an idea of what's going on in the communities around the state of Washington. I think this year 204 submitted. Everybody in Grace Harbor County did, so that gives us an idea of what the rest of the county's doing. So our report has a message from myself, and it gives personnel updates, retirements, hirings, things like that, and then gets a use of force data, an update in all of our divisions. And then our NIBRS and uniform crime report. And NIBRS stands for our National Incident-Based Reporting System. We'll kind of talk about that in just a second. We have 16 years of year-end reports available on our website. If you're interested, see what that looks like for the last decade and a half. So how does the call get reported? many different ways that can happen here in Grace Harbor. You can call 911. Grace Harbor Communications is up on F Street, and they take all the 911 calls in Grace Harbor County. There's also a non-emergency number too that you can call as well too if you have something that's not a crime against a person or property that's not in progress. That would be the appropriate number. Somebody can come to our station and report things during business hours. You can flag down a police officer. I get a lot of emails about crimes that people are reporting as well too. So there's a lot of ways that people can report crimes here in the city of Aberdeen. Anytime that somebody reports a crime for us, we call it a service request, so it's SR number. That's how we track anytime somebody's making a report to us. That doesn't matter if it's a felony or a misdemeanor, they're all the same treated by us. And once they get written up by the police officer, then they get forwarded in 2 different paths. So all our record specialists, they update all the call data. So that's where these numbers are kind of massaged by them. So for example, somebody calls in a shoplift at a store in town. And the officer gets there and the store employee says, hey, I don't really want to do anything about this. Can you just have this person leave? So while that starts out as a shoplift, it really ends up turning into like a trespass situation where we, give them a trespass notice so they can't return. It's really important for us, and we really strive to be accurate with our reporting because I think the data is only as good as it is going in and going out. So it's important that our cops spend a lot of time doing this. They probably, it's an 11-hour shift, 4 days on, 4 days off. They probably spend about 2 hours a day entering data for all the calls they respond to. So you kind of get an idea what that looks like. Each report is handled by 6 different people as it works its way up through the process. So the cop takes the initial report, they forward it to the patrol sergeant then forwards it to lieutenant forwards it to the commander, and the commander sends it to investigations if it's a felony, or it goes straight to the prosecutor if it's a misdemeanor. Then our record staff each has a role to play too. They review the report, make sure the data is accurate, and then it's also second checked by another record specialist to ensure the data is in compliance with federal standards. So how many calls have we responded to last year? You can kind of see on the graph. Maybe you can, I don't know if you can see that very well. I can't from over here, but kind of gives you an idea how many calls we responded to last year. If you remember in 2022, that was a record-breaking year with just about 35,000 calls. And last year we were just under 34,000. So that's still a ton of calls. When I started in 1997, we had 18,000 calls a year. So we've almost doubled our workload in the last 27 years. As I said, 24 is trending up just a little tiny bit, but I think most of the numbers that we're seeing are related to our proactive traffic stops. We conducted over 4,000 traffic stops this year, which is up about 80% from last year. And all those traffic stops do count as calls for us. Anytime we contact a person, whether it's a subject or a person or somebody on a bike, we track that and that counts as a call for us. So call wise, just to give you an idea what it's like in the last week. So we've had 766 calls in the last 7 days. We typically average about 89 calls a day divided amongst the officers. So our summertime is a busy time for sure. And it's also our shortest staffing time as more officers are on vacations, but that just kind of gives you an idea what it looks like in the last week. Right, calls for service. So we did see a decrease of about 7% overall. Again, 2022 was a record-breaking year for us. I think that was the post-COVID party year. It seems like calls, we were just slamming busy. Statewide, you can see, I know you probably see a lot of information about the amount of murders that occur around the state. They were down last year, which is a good thing. We didn't have any in the city, so that's always great. And overall crime decreased by 8.5% in the state, and for us, we saw an 8% of reported offenses. Again, I put the word reported on there because I think it's important to note that, if somebody doesn't call us and report the crime, then we have no idea that it occurred. So it's important that we get people that are reporting crime. Vehicle thefts is another big one the state tracks. State's deep down 15%. We were down 37% last year. One of our most prolific car thieves was sentenced to, I think, 15 years in prison for quite a rash of them. So I think he single-handedly would probably account for most of that decrease. And then lastly, you see the kind of the crime rate per 1,000 population decreased from 94 to 80 last year in Aberdeen. That's kind of like the ballpark measuring stick for crime. And when we say offense, that's any offense that somebody has committed. All right, so we have some specific call stuff that I'll talk about briefly. Last year we had 10 robberies, which we had 17 the year before, and robberies defined as taking property from a person with the use of force, either implied or actual. Residential burglaries decreased too. are increased. Our commercial burglaries were down quite a bit from 47. We had 128 the year before. We're kind of seeing that the fentanyl epidemic has lowered the prices for drugs. So we're not seeing the commercial burglaries we used to. I can't even think the last time somebody called about a Cadillac Converter getting cut or copper. Just doesn't seem to happen very often anymore because you don't have to steal as much to support your habit, unfortunately. Aggravated assaults were down, simple assaults also decreased as well. Drug offenses isn't something that they track at the state level. You remember on August 15th is when drugs became illegal again in the state. So since then, we've made 42 arrests last year, since August to, I guess, December, and we've made 65 so far this year. And remember, it's a gross misdemeanor now, it's no longer a felony. Right, case is cleared. So this gives you an idea of how our cases are getting adjudicated here in the city. So you'll see right off the bat that we average clearing 54.7% of all group A offenses, which is number one in the state of Washington for agencies. Our size are greater. It's number one in Grace Harbor by a lot. We're over double the state average. And so when we talk about what that means is that 54% of the time when we actually have a criminal offense, our officers are able to make an arrest and clear that case, which I'm really proud of the work the men and women do. That's quite amazing. When you look at the statistics across the state of Washington, they do an amazing amount of work. And I'm really proud of the fact that they're able to do that. We've been consistently above 50% for the last several years, and it's trending that way again this year. I don't want to point out how much higher we are than our neighbor agencies, but we're quite a bit higher than the rest of the county. Use of force. So last year, you can see we used force 110 times out of 32,600 calls. So it's a very low percentage of calls we actually use force. And for us, we say we use force anytime that's non-coercive. So if I just tell somebody they're under arrest, they put their hands behind their back, that's not use of force. But if I tell you you're under arrest and you say, I'm not going to jail, and I have to grab onto and use any kind of force that's not cooperative, coercive force, that counts as use of force. We also count it as use of force anytime we point our tools at somebody. So we're going to arrest him in a felony warrant and I have my gun out and he sees I have my gun out and he complies, that counts as use of force as well. Same for the taser. We have a really good effective rate on the taser to saying you're gonna tase somebody, works quite a bit. And we also have a laser. We get a lot of compliance that way. Yeah. Not pleasant. Our VIPs, I couldn't do this presentation on the same way. An awesome job they did for us. Last year they donated 2,300 hours to what we do. They are visible at every single event we go to, and they are absolutely amazing what they do. We couldn't be successful without they do, and their outreach they do. They do a ton of paperwork for us. They do the lock boxes. They're here to help us in any way possible. And 2,300 hours is just amazing. We consider it's only 18 people, and average is about 190 hours a month. I want to make sure that they're well recognized for all the work they do, because I certainly couldn't do what we do without them. Parking enforcement. This is the big one. I get a lot of emails and attention to this. So George Welch is a park enforcement officer. He went to 628 calls last year. And at those calls, he issued 160 tickets and 155 tow notices, and we only had to end up towing 120 vehicles. So 30 people were able to get their vehicles before George could go back 3 days later to get the car towed. So we're towing about 2 or 3 cars a week. It kind of depends on the call load as well. But the parking enforcement, that started as a downtown business parking position where he would do the 2-hour parking downtown. The city does, he doesn't collect it, but the city collects a tax on the downtown businesses. That pays for about 25% of his salary. So George's responsibility is about 25% downtown, and the rest of the time, he's chasing cars around town, and then when people call him, he can respond to their neighborhoods. Animal control. Christy was animal control officer last year. You can see that she was incredibly busy. 437 calls, and we had 2,300 calls to our animal control shelter. A lot of people treat their animals better than some of the people they know. And so we created our own Facebook page last year for animals, and it is incredibly popular. We have a really good rate of getting all the animals that are wavered across the city back to their owners. People are, that board is quite active, and we are quite successful in getting our animals relocated. That's our goal. Corrections. So our corrections officers are PSOs. They are responsible for taking custody of anybody that an Aberdeen police officer brings in. Last year we had 916 bookings. Our jail capacity is 18 is considered red. We're actually at 19 today, just to give you an idea where we're at. Last year, our average daily population was 16.8, so we're almost at capacity just about every single day. Average stay is about 10 days, and, to give you an idea how much it costs, our jail budget is just a little over $900,000. So when you do all the math on how many bookings and the average stay, and, you get an idea, it costs about $158 per person per day to keep somebody in our city jail. Our record specialists, so I mentioned earlier that they have their hands on every single report that comes through from our officers, and we had one recently just retired, take another job, so we're down to just 2 right now. Fortunately, we have 22 applicants, so we're gonna be doing some interviews in the next couple weeks, but this gives you an idea how busy they are. So our concealed pistol licenses were up to 348 last year from 312 the year before. And we had 1,300 public records requests. We get a lot of people that want criminal records, so we have a full-time specialist that just handles all the public records requests. They work hard to make sure that they're in compliance with state, federal requirements. There's a ton of rules they have to follow. It is a very hard job, something that I certainly couldn't do, and they do an excellent job at it. They have purge days, because we have, as you can imagine, back in the days when everything was paper, boxes and boxes and boxes of papers in our attic, so we're purging them every chance we get when we can legally get rid of some of those papers. Second to last one here, I wanted to call out some of our people that were recognized by their peers last year. We have an Employee of the Quarter, Employee of the Year Award. Our record specialist, Kathy Slesher, she does all of our public records requests. And then Officer Noah Ewing, which is patrolling, just assigned an apprehension canine that we'll bring in here sometime later this year when he's certified. Commander Steve Timmons is hugging the puppy there. He was elected as Police Officer of the Year last year. And then our Detective Sergeant is Gary Sexton there. I want to make sure that I got a chance to say that these guys are doing an awesome job. I appreciate everything we do every day. And that's it. You know, we really strive to be approachable with what we do. You know, it's an absolute honor to sit up and represent this police department. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
Things aren't as bleak as the pictures are painted sometimes.
It really is.
It doesn't.
All right, then we'll move on to request for council. Oops, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to make mention real quick. No, you're good. Just a reminder that we are having a workshop next Thursday at 6 o'clock at the Log Pavilion to go over the zoning code. So just wanted to remind you of all of that. Thank you.
Director Scott, what time will that be?
6 o'clock.
Okay.
Also,
Uh-huh.
Just in case anyone hasn't seen it yet, we have a vacant position open in our Ward 5. If you're interested in the position, applications are posted on our website. They're also available on first floor City Hall in our finance department. You can also email me and I can get you one. So those will be due August 30th. And then on the September 11th City Council meeting, people that are interested in the position will be invited to come to the council, give a speech, answer questions, and then the council will vote, and that position will be sworn in September 25th.
Thank you. All right, clear to move on.
Permission granted.
Thank you. So we'll go to public safety with Chairperson Hodge.
Okay, so we have, a request from Public Safety recommending that the city council authorize the fire chief to accept the $16,013.08 award from the Washington Department of Labor and Industries for a fire grant program to purchase a one-striker powered stair chair. If you want to know a little bit about that, let me find that here. This helps prevent injuries to employees. It's a power chair that helps them be able to move people up and down stairs. So this helps the firefighters not get hurt. And so it's a grant that they get, and they're able to cover it completely with the grant. And it's recommended that the city council approve the fire chief to accept the grant award and purchase one powered stair chair.
Second. Then first and second, is there any discussions? Is there? Seeing none, all in favor? Can we borrow that for the city hall for?
Just kidding.
And then the next thing is a request from public safety and the fire chief
that remark.
that the city council approve the mayor to sign an interlocal agreement between the city of Aberdeen and Montesino for the provision of a fire marshal service. To give you a little background on that, the city of Montesino has reached out inquiring about the Aberdeen Fire Department and fire marshal performing a plan review inspection concerning fire and life safety system for the Montesino Health and Rehabilitation Center. It's recommended that the city council approve this ILA.
Motion's been made, second. Is there any discussion? Councilperson Sealer?
Chief, about how many hours do we anticipate will be involved in this?
We don't have a really good estimate for sure. The plan review side of it actually is just a cursory look, with it being a healthcare facility. The bulk of the plan review is done by the state fire marshal, but they always, on the inspection side of it, really down to the local jurisdictions. So I'm guessing we're going to be into this somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 hours.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And just a little bit more information about the fire department, their call statistics, they had 580 incidences for July. And their homeless response data, they had a total of 68 total responses. And their overdose response is down from 20 to 11, so that's going way down, which is really good to know. And then there's going to be an increase in the EMS rate that's going to be coming up here pretty soon. Outlying agencies begin to take shape. City of Cosmopolis, Fire Department District 10 and 15, and Bigelow Drive homeowners. And then they've got a staffing update, got 2 vacancies, 1 firefighter paramedic is in pre-employment process. And they're interviewing for others. And then our police chief, his report. Called so far this year, there's been 21,945. They had 96 calls in the last 7 days for trespass, so they've been extremely busy. I think last year it was 61 citywide, and it's up by about a third. So they're extremely busy. And they've been making arrests when necessary, so they've been very busy. And they were able to support 9 locations in Aberdeen for the National Night Out, and they want to thank the citizens for that. It was successful. And then Officer Tommy Wallace is going to be sworn in on August 6th, or was sworn in. And he begins the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission Law Enforcement Academy on August 17th, and he'll graduate December 31st. So he'll be joining us as well. He is a Hope We Have graduate and a former Aberdeen Police Department Explorer. So we'd like to see them move on from Explorer to Police Department. So that's it for the fire chief and the police chief. And that's right.
Yeah, Councilperson Sealer, you have a question?
I just was curious, Chief Green, I appreciate the review of all the statistics. And one thing I really keyed on was I was surprised that your jail population is as nearly full as it is on an average basis. Who do we usually rely on or go to if we reach capacity and we have to maybe transfer inmates to some other jurisdiction? Do you go to Oakland or the county jail or what?
Yeah, both. Kind of depends on what the person's done and if they're problematic for our facility. County jail has a little more room than Oakland does, so it just depends. If they have court the next day, we might take them to Oakland, or we might do a prisoner swap as well. But if it's a felon and the Great Suffolk County Prosecutor's Office is going to prosecute the felony, as soon as they're interviewed by our detectives, and they go up to county jail at some point.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll go to Public Works with Council Chair Lawrence.
We have a request from Public Works recommending that the city council authorize the mayor to sign the 2 contracts for demolition. One at 1401 West Second Street to KD and S for the amount of $38,123.46. And the next one at 457 Concord to Advanced Environmental in the amount of $13,566.25. I move that we adopt this report.
Second.
Been moved in second. Is there any discussion? Councilperson Sedor?
I appreciate, moving forward with demolition of some of these really bad rundown residences. I wish we had more in our budget to do more and more frequently, but it's not cheap. It costs a lot of money. I did note on the one on West Second that the demolition cost on a per square foot basis, including the house, the garage, et cetera, a little over, I think, $5 a square foot, and that pretty much falls in line with my experience. I did note that the one on Conger was a little over $13 a square foot. I do know that's a much smaller residence, but still, I mean, so, you know, expect that the cost per square foot probably goes up, but is that reasonable to be around 13 plus a square foot?
I think we usually don't base it on square footage because it really is going to depend on whether or not the residence is accessible, whether or not we can get in to have asbestos removed. So a lot of what you see reflected in there, the house on Second Street it's unsafe to get in to remove asbestos, so the whole house is being treated. Therefore, the price is higher. We've had a wonderful working relationship with Public Works, so whenever we can get into residences and have asbestos removed, if it tests positive, then Public Works has been great in helping reduce the fees by tearing down the house. But it just really depends on what we find in the residences.
Are most of the old homes that are demolished, and including some of the commercial properties, because of their ages in this community, are likely to have asbestos materials?
Yes, that is correct. When we can actually get in them, we can have the asbestos removed as a separate contract. So tearing down the structures are way less expensive because asbestos will be removed ahead of time and you don't have to treat all of the product being demolished.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? No, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Request from Public Works recommending that the city council authorize the Public Works Director to execute amendment number 1 to HDR task order number 13. Move that we adopt this report.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Now we have a resolution setting the dates of August 28th and September 11th to conduct 2 public hearings to receive comments on the consideration of removing fluoride from our water. I move that we adopt this resolution.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
No.
2 opposed, motion carries.
This will be resolution 2024-15.
First reading of Bill 24-05, an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Aberdeen. I move that we adopt this first reading.
Second.
Moved in second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
That's it for Public Works.
Thank you. All right, special agenda items, Council President Swarth.
So first we have a request from the Parks Director recommending that the City Council authorize the accession and deaccession of the items listed and report to the museum collection. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Moved in second. Is there any discussion? Councilperson Sedor?
It was an interesting assortment of items being requested, to be accepted. I'm wondering who is looking at and making a decision on what will be accepted and whether it's really, they feel worthwhile to be accepted into the museum.
Museums Collection Committee.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then that will be reviewed once there's a nonprofit pick to actually run the museum for us. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next we have a request from the city administrator for 4 volunteers to form a committee to draft a council rules and procedures document. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Moved and seconded during the discussion. I have a question though. Is that just council folks we're looking for, or is there residents involved?
This would just be for council members. The plan for this would be to draft an updated code of conduct or ethics.
Okay, discussion. Councilperson Ellis.
Mayor, I would be interested in serving on that committee.
As would I. I will too.
Well, we're not running roll one. Okay. That was easy, you know. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Ellis, Cedar, Prado, and Gagan are the 4 council people that step forward.
We have another request from the city administrator to reschedule the budget workshop for one of the following dates, August 21st, September 4th, and September 18th. I move that we adopt this report as well.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
My apologies. I believe that, I wanted to make sure it didn't conflict with the zoning workshop.
I think that we should go for September 4th, if that works for all other parties. So that we're not having 2 back-to-back workshops next week.
That would be my preference. That works for me.
What day of the week is it?
It's a Wednesday.
I see. Workshop, that's hard.
Yeah.
No, no, they need it.
It didn't.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So we're doing it on the 4th, is that?
Yes. September 4th.
All right, thank you.
We have one more, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
A request from Council President Sfor recommending that the city council authorize the mayor to sign a letter of support for the Grace Harbor Conservation District in obtaining a Rose Foundation grant. At our last council meeting, David came up and explained that that would be necessary for their grant project, but no motion was made, so we're just making that motion now. That packet is due tomorrow. Move that we adopt that.
A second?
Does the report show that the council and the mayor? Or is it just the mayor?
Just the mayor.
Should be.
On behalf of the council.
Yeah, I signed on behalf of the council. Yeah. Any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carries? Thank you. Okay, now we'll go back to public comments, and remember, 3 minutes. Please, start with your name and your ward or address, and keep it simple, and you're right. Is the red light on? Yes, on that thing, okay.
I believe it, yes, I believe it is. My name is Sharice Anderson and I'm part of Ward 4. Regarding the railroad whistles and so forth, part of the problem is that the state and the railroad refuse to change their positions. Oregon law has crossing guards on everywhere, and flashing lights and whatnot, so that people can tell that there is a train coming, because with all the railroad tracks around here, you can't always tell, particularly like over at the Home Depot area and stuff, there's so many tracks, and you are legally supposed to stop and look, so there's a train coming, but nobody does. So, I have a contact for you, from our, who's not a member of the House of Representatives or, State House and Senate. But he is the premier person in Washington who fights for that law to change. So to be like Oregon. So if you want, I can give you his contact information.
Thank you.
And then, what's your one? Yeah.
Just wondering if there was any progress. This be to the chief, I guess, as well, on the ongoing issues with some of the bars.
You talk to him after the meeting.
Sure.
Discuss during the
Sure. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Anybody else? Your hand up?
Hello, my name's Sean Kelly. I believe I live in Ward 2, Central Park. So I want to speak on the issue with the homelessness. I think in reality, in my opinion, the issue isn't the homelessness. I think the issue is a drug problem and a crime problem. I think that the ordinances that we have, I really don't agree with them. I love this city. I'm from here. I love this city. I want to see the city prosper. I look at the people out there and I see potential in them, right? They're broken and they're really in opposition to themselves. And I think that a better way to approach it would be more rehabilitation programs like drug court, which I believe has around a 70% success rate. But it's more focused towards people that have felonies, right? But there's people committing these misdemeanor crimes over and over again and getting booked and released. The big problem is we don't have room, right? We don't have room in these jails to take care of that. But if we were to focus more into something like that to rehabilitate these people, I'm an ex-drug addict and an ex-criminal, right? And I don't think that we should just pardon the crimes that are being committed, right? Because we have laws for a reason. But being homeless it shouldn't be a crime. It's not wrong to be homeless, but the things they're doing is a problem. And we as American citizens and as citizens of this city, right, should be protected against people vandalizing our stuff or stealing our stuff or any of that, right? And it's perfectly reasonable for people to be upset about that, right? All of us should be. But these people are stuck, right? And I just think that we should take a more approach to rehabilitate that and try to come up with solutions to work on that. Again, thank you for your time, for all your guys' time. Thank you for the work that you put into this city and, the thoughts and just everything you guys do. I appreciate you, everyone here. That's all. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Anybody else out there?
We have one.
No, I'm gonna say something.
Hello.
I'm Lena Caldwell, Behavioral Health Navigator for both Aberdeen and Hope William. I'm gonna piggyback on what Sean said. The biggest problem is location, and funds. So, we've had a whole bunch of ideas spitballed and everything. I threw one out on the radio the other day. If we had a space, just a parking lot, where we could put up the privacy fences that pellets.com uses for their tiny house community. Don't invest in tiny houses, right? Create dog kennels for storing stuff like they use at the animal shelter. You can padlock stuff. People can set their tents up in that privacy fenced in area, take them down daily, store their stuff, go out into the community, do their recovery services, their courts, their health services, everything they need to do, workforce, all of that, right? So you're doing two things. You're cutting down on hoarding and garbage, so that takes away that problem. And you're having people who are normally laying in their tents wrapped up in addiction and prostitution and all the other things attached with addiction, right? You've now given them a purpose. They got to wake up and they've got to do something. So you're engaging the frontal lobe. You're creating executive level thinking instead of living in the animal brain, right? So you have goals, you have a purpose, even though it's not going out and earning an income and contributing to the tax paying in the city yet. You're creating potential for recovery rather than allowing people just to live in filth and waste and rats and everything else. You're creating a space for all of our service providers who have been under a tremendous amount of strain this last week. It has been awful for them to try and connect with people. And we all spend this time working from our jails, working on the streets and every organization to build rapport. And all of that is now wiped. People are in hiding. They don't want to talk. They don't want to engage in any recovery. So the city's gone backwards with what happened with the encampment cleanup, although it was necessary. And because people shouldn't live like that. Our state is based on autonomy, right? My Down syndrome son, who I have 100% guardianship of, legally can walk away from my house the way our state laws are currently. And that needs to change as well. And I'll get to that eventually. Give me a couple more years. But it doesn't have to be super complex. It can be as simple as a parking lot with privacy fence. And I'll end on this. If you think you don't want it in your ward, it's already there. Every single one of you have a hotel or a motel that our homeless population is living in currently through the hotel voucher program. So scattered sites work because it is happening already in this community. That's it.
Thank you.
Look at my time.
Annie Montgomery's online.
Okay.
Go ahead, Annie.
She muted.
Eight minutes.
The microphone's not on.
Any birthday internet?
Let me know.
She needs to unmute herself.
Andy, can you unmute yourself? Okay. All right, you're up. We can come back to you, Andy, if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'll go past Amy. My name is Emily Reed. I work downtown at DHR, and alongside most of these people that are in supportive services right now. And I will say that Lena's right, we're exhausted. We don't know what the solutions are gonna be. We're racking our brains for creativity, but most of the time we're walking into those offices just feeling super defeated, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. Doesn't mean that we're not gonna keep trying and showing up, but we're really at a crossroads right now where we do need support if you want us to reach the goals that we've set for ourselves and our clients. I can't find a large majority of the clients that are on my client list. Some of them have, gone into trauma response and they just don't trust anybody, like Lena was saying. But the other flip side, I did want to comment about the UGM and Friendship House not having an increase in numbers. I worked very closely with both organizations. And I will prefix this by saying that we need everybody. We need the Union Gospel Mission, even though that their shelter is not for everybody. So with that being said, I talked to the director of Friendship House at least weekly. We love them. They love us. They're incredible people over there. She called me this week actually and asked why people are not able to utilize the shelters because she desperately wants to be able to use the buildings that they have for our clientele. And so I was able to give her some feedback on what's preventing people from accessing those shelters. And I will tell you a large percentage is not their choice. They're not choosing not to access these shelters. I know that's a common misconception. I have an elderly lady who I recently got housed. I spent at least 12 months checking on her every single morning. She was unable to access the Friendship House because she fell off the bus, which required her to use a cane for an injury that she received on her hip. So because of that, she was unable to access the Union Gospel Mission Friendship House. And the director wanted her there. She fought for her. She provided advocacy. She even put her on the couch for a couple nights to try to be able to fight for her to have a spot there. But the Friendship House and the Union Gospel Mission do not allow people with a disability. That's a large percentage of the people that I serve. People that are on fixed incomes with disabilities. often cannot afford housing, especially in this market. So you see this really vicious circle of somebody who, like my client, just needed a cane because she fell off of a bus. She's 72 years old and spent every single night outside on a church step because she was scared for her life. Thank God I got her housed and we got her income increased, but even her tribe wouldn't help us with the moving costs. So please understand when I say that people are not choosing to stay on the streets. Truly, a large percentage are not able to access them because of things preventing them from doing so. That is why there's not an increase in people utilizing the shelters, even in this desperate time.
Right, so I guess that's the end of our public comments.
Looks like we do have one more online.
Oh,
Alicia, if you're online, go ahead and unmute your mic.
you were unmuted. Now do what you just did again. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So my name is Felicia. I don't know what ward I live in, but I also work at Destination Hope and Recovery. I agree with Emily. Our job has gotten severely harder now to serve the clients that we want to help, that are trying to work hard for themselves. Um, when we walk down alleys now, we see people just sitting in the alleys with nothing to do and nowhere to go, and they're hopeless. And it breaks my heart to see them like that. I've been homeless before. I've been an addict and I've come out of that, but it took a tribe to get me there. It took every community partner that I could reach out to get me to where I'm at today. And it breaks my heart to see what they're going through. There's people on my caseload that don't have legs, that don't have arms, that aren't able to carry their stuff around, and it's heartbreaking. They're taking benches from downtown so they have nowhere to sit throughout the day, and that's benches that us taxpayers pay for, and they're being taken away from them. There's no shelter for them to go to. The people that are disabled, like Emily said, they have nowhere to go. They can't go up and down those stairs. The only shelters that we have, my mother-in-law lives in the friendship house because she wanted to get clean, because she wanted to change her life. She gets paid $10 a week to work for them. How is she supposed to move on with her life with $10 a week? She's doing her hardest to stay clean. And it's not just her story. It's many women's stories, many men's stories. If they do one thing wrong, they're banned for life and they have nowhere else to go. We are trying our hardest to help people and they want to help themselves. They're showing up. They're clean. They're going to mental health. There's nothing else that we can do if we can't find them now. They're too scared to even tell us where they're at because of what they're going through. That's all I have to say, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.
We'll try one more time. If you're there and able to mute, go ahead.
And that some of you is preventing her from being able to unmute. On this side, I think. That's not accurate.
She has the same access as Felicia.
He just said it's not letting me unmute.
Okay, moving on.
All right. Now then we'll move on to good for the good of the order. And I just want to sorry. I just want to start by saying that there is a RFP out there requesting for artwork for the counterweight when you come into town. That's through the Parks Department, and I think we have 45 days that we're looking at.
We're gonna repost it. Yeah, because it already expired.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I thought this one would be really nice if instead of open colors that had like bobcat blue on it. It'd be really nice. Okay.
And to piggyback on that, I just want to say that it's a request for designs, so that they don't even have to be able to fabricate it or hang it themselves. One thing with the artists involved, is we just want a design, it's just plain, we don't need to hang it or create it, just give us an image.
We're speaking with the company that made the sign, and they have said they want to do it again for free. Yeah, so the city won't be on anything for them. Somebody's checking on that right now for us.
Hopefully it applies to the RFP.
Okay, council personnel.
This coming Saturday is Summerfest in downtown Aberdeen on Broadway between Market and Heron, starting at 9:30. And then it's also the Grays Harbor Pride Festival at the Historical Seaport, starting at 1 p.m. And I know we've heard from the residents of Leisure Manor just how difficult it is to keep up with rising rents. And I heard from one of my ward residents that the house that they lived in for 14 years paid $625 a month, was recently sold. The rent is going up to $750. That they're being asked, well, they move out for the house to be renovated. And if they choose to move back in afterwards, the rent will be $1,400. The legislature passed HB 2114, which is rent stabilization. It got through the House, but not the Senate. That would have capped the amount landlords can raise existing tenants' rent each year at 7%. I would like our council to, in fact, I'm going to move that our council agree to put this on our list of lobbying priorities for the 2025 legislature. That we need something like this passed. It's critical for keeping people in their homes. And I need a second.
Thank you.
Second.
Is there any discussion, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Opposed, passes. All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
Yes, I have something for the good of the order. Just this week, we have, a property that was on East Second Street that some individuals had been living behind. The, person that owned the property passed away in 2019. And they had been living there on the property, and kind of terrorizing the neighbors. And they were finally, asked, to move because they were doing a lot of vandalism and other things. I've been getting a lot of calls from people. There is a group of people that are hanging out behind the needle exchange. And I get daily, calls and texts about this. They have fights happening daily, drug deals, people sleeping there, additional cars that don't belong to people who live there. There are people that are living in their cars. They had 3 overdoses today and 2 yesterday. There's prostitution going on, yelling, screaming, and fighting all night long. So because of these issues, I am asking the council to vote to instruct the staff and legal to draft language that would expand the perimeter and extend the time to all day for the sit and lie enforcement zone to extend to all of Aberdeen until we're able to get in control of these issues.
Second.
The first and second, is there any other discussion? Councilperson Seaver, or Council President.
Brought this up, we were tabling it until we gave the current ordinances that we just passed and put in place to work themselves out.
Well, I would like to vote on it because as Councilmember Cedar explained, there were, he was concerned that this would happen once the camp was closed in the downtown area, that it would expand out of the neighborhoods, which is what has happened. And some people are just being victimized. There's, poop, prostitution, drug deals going on, fighting, and the police need to be able to enforce it. And it's not in the downtown area, it's in the neighborhood. And so I think that it's something that we need to move on.
Councilmember Huston. The first thing that came to mind was, why aren't our existing laws against prostitution and crime being enforced in all areas of the city, regardless of the downtown by ordinance?
Well, I think that's a question for Chief Green, and I would say that they are probably doing their best, but Chief Green, you can answer that probably better than I.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any reports to us regarding prostitution, in that neighborhood. Again, people have to report those things to us.
I heard, people over on Randall Street about, spillover of RVs from the downtown area and drug dealing and nuisance kinds of things. Since the residents were willing to file a report feeling vulnerable, I sent 2 reports, one through the police department website and the other through community development. It's important that people call these in or submit something online so that our officers can respond and can take action. I think that would be way more effective than expanding a citywide ordinance, especially at this time.
Well, that, I'm sorry, it's more.
So getting to the problem area that Councilmember Hodgkin had discussed, I have gotten numerous emails and phone calls about it the last week and a half. I just want the council to keep in mind, school's right around the corner. The high school is right around the corner from this particular problem area. And our high schoolers are going to be going in lockdown constantly because of people with their mental health behaviors and everything else. Just something to keep in mind.
Councilperson, the way I heard this described is that perimeter that allows the city libraries to be upheld is literally right at the cusp of where the people are speaking to gather now. So if we can extend this past into the residential area, then we'll be able to start forcing it to people are asking to see.
Just quickly, I believe that the methadone clinic is there under a, they don't have a permanent license to be there. We can review that license also. To discuss whether.
We're sitting there, the border for it, and it's pretty much right there.
Well, they're in the alleyway behind the needle exchange, which is right, on top of a residential area. And cars have gotten vandalized, tires have gotten splashed. I know from letters that we've gotten from business owners that they've, gotten vandalized. People have broken into their buildings, set fires. People are afraid to say anything because if you do say anything, you kind of risk getting attacked. But people are pretty scared.
Yeah. Spend earnings if we don't, and the city's against more time here.
Yes.
So where would the border be expanded to?
All of Aberdeen.
All of Aberdeen.
And yes, if I might, in our discussion in public safety tonight, staff was going to bring us some options, but not necessarily the entirety of Aberdeen, but they will bring us some options. This is what we're just wanting to vote to give them the ability to explore what those options can be, bring them back to the council for our consideration.
I sat in on the meeting that my interpretation of it was kind of like after recommendation. Could you talk like Mike? I think I sat in on the public safety meeting tonight, and this is the way I interpreted it. It was after recommendation of the chief to go ahead and do this.
Okay, so we're not expanding it right now. We're just having that option.
To just have the option open, just to explore what the possibilities are bring it back to council.
And I think this will help the police, to be able to do their job, because currently, people are living in areas where they shouldn't be living. And they don't own the property, but they're living at the property. And, but if there's no sit line ordinance there, then, it just makes it hard for the police to do their jobs.
Exactly. We just want to make sure that our ordinances are up to snuff and that the police have all the tools in the toolbox to do their job.
Mr. Mayor, under discussion as well, this is the presentation that our legal did to us at our last council meeting. So I just want to remind everyone of that and what their direction was in that presentation and what the restrictions would be if you truly were to extend this to the whole city.
Well, I think our rules and ordinances need to be nuanced. So if you have a parent that's sitting at the park watching her children play on the swing set, that is not a group of people who are hanging out in an area all day long, where there's defecating, urinating, trash, fighting, and acts of other things that are undesirable, along with selling and taking drugs.
Okay, Councilperson Senior, you have?
First off, the motion, as I understood it, unless it's been amended, was to amend the current sit line ordinance to apply to the entire city 24/7, 7 days a week. If that's not the case, I'd like clarification on that, because that's what I want to vote on. But I think also trying to do some things, I think we need to give our police and our community enforcement officers and zoning and everybody all the tools and all the options potentially available to do what we can to try to control and deal with those who are making the community less desirable to live in. I'm not sure quite how to word that without maybe offending somebody out there, but there are people who just say they want to get help maybe on one side, but then they do things to abuse everybody else's rights and property, and that's just not right.
Okay, so be extending it.
Well, the motion is to ask for staff and legal to extend the parameters and the time to be 24/7. Or to have the sit and line ordinance throughout the city. Citywide.
It's not a motion to explore it further, it's a motion to make sure it happens.
Yes.
All right, so is there any more discussion? Are we? Then, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Three no's?
I'd like to request a roll call, please. Thank you.
Ellis,
No.
Gaten,
Yes.
Hodgkin,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Yeah.
Mackey,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Pericini,
No.
Davis,
No.
Fedor,
Yes.
Ward,
No.
Taylor,
Yes.
motion passes. Let's see.
7-4.
That's 7-4.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else for the good of the order? That's okay, that's for us.
I move that we, close our meeting tonight.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, folks, for coming. I appreciate it.
Hey, Fury?